Hey everybody! Today we're going to do something a little bit different. Today we're going to take some notes. I know that I don't usually give you a whole lot of notes and usually you would get a handout, but today I think it's really important for you to be able to write down the 5 categories and their definitions and some of the vocabulary that we use to criticize choruses. And then you'll have an opportunity to criticize a chorus right after you get finished taking all of these notes. I think it's really important for you to write them down, and you're going to write down the words that I give you, but I really think that you should write them down in a way that's going to remind you when you're criticizing a chorus that you will remember, a way that you're going to be able to bring back, and it's going to make sense to you when you listen to a chorus and you hear their tone and you hear their musical expression and you hear all these different things. You need to be able to write or speak about the things that you're listening to. So you're going to have a pencil and you should have a piece of lined paper and put your name on it. And you're going to turn it in, and the only reason you're going to turn it in is just so that way I can make sure everybody has one, and to make sure anybody that didn't have one, we make arrangements to make sure that you get these same notes. So let's start with the first category, which is tone. And in chorus, we've talked a lot about the fact that tone is the beauty of your sound. And that's kind of a formal definition. And basically, you know, when you hear a chorus, you want it to sound nice. It doesn't necessarily have to be beautiful. It might be an intense piece, but you want that chorus to have a nice sound, or a sound that you don't mind listening to. And so tone refers to that sound, and is it the kind of sound that is pleasing? So some ways that you can write about tone. If you're hearing a good tone, then that tone should be clear. It should have support. It should be ringing. Maybe it would be energized. Maybe it would have clarity to it, or maybe even so much expression that you can tell what is being sung about. You know, that's the tone, that the beauty of the sound. If it's a bad tone, then you probably hear some breathiness. You hear maybe some forced sound. You hear some harshness in the sound. You might hear lack of support, so it sounds weak. It sounds like it isn't going anywhere. There's no energy in it. And those are the kinds of things that you would hear in a bad tone. So then we move on to the intonation category. Intonation refers to whether or not the chorus is in tune. Are they in tune? Now, when you hear an interval, as you heard me example with a student in our class last week, you heard what it sounded like when we were in tune. The harmonies sound pleasing. You're talking about the harmony, and you're talking a little bit about balance and blend. When you hear a chorus singing just in one part, then all of the voices would blend together and match pitch. That would be in tune. When they're not matching pitch, when the voices are not blended together, we have intonation problems. Not everyone is in tune with the correct pitch. If we have 2 parts or 3 parts or more than that, then we start to have harmonies that should sound the right distance apart. The intervals should be correct. Our ears can tell when we hear that harmony correctly. When it's not done correctly, then it has that terrible rubbing sound. It sounds like the parts are too close together or they're too far apart, and you hear kind of almost that beating sound that you get with a chorus that's out of tune. So when a chorus is in tune, the harmonies sound correct. The parts are the right distance apart. The harmonies are pleasing to listen to. Even in songs where the parts are really close, it will still sound correct. You'll still be able to hear if those parts are sounding in tune. If they're out of tune, then it makes it so difficult to listen to that we just, it makes you want to cover your ears or kind of cringe. So that's what you're looking at for intonation. Okay, moving on now to dynamics. Okay, dynamics are your louds and your softs. Are the main word that we want to look for in dynamics with choruses is the contrast, the word contrast. You want to hear every piece, whether it's soft, whether it's loud, whether it's got a lot of changes, every piece has in it contrast. There will be softer sections and louder sections, and there will be sometimes very dramatic changes in dynamics and sometimes very gradual changes in dynamics. So sometimes you have lots of crescendo and diminuendo, and sometimes you have sforzando, which is a really quick change in dynamics from loud to soft or soft to loud. And so a subito would be if you were singing loudly and then you went completely to soft. So your piano, your mezzo piano, mezzo forte, forte, those are your dynamics. And so in a chorus that's displaying really good dynamics, you're going to hear lots of contrast. You will hear softs and louds and gradual changes, and you will hear different kinds of changes in dynamics. In a chorus that does not have any dynamic changes, a lot of times you would have the same volume all the way through, or you might only hear one dynamic change in the entire piece, and that's going to make the difference between a chorus that gets a good rating in dynamics and it doesn't get a good rating for dynamics. The next category we'll talk about is diction. Remember that diction relates to your vowels and your consonants. So if you've got tall vowels, pure vowels, uniform vowels, these are all the words you should be writing down. Tall, pure, uniform. If they're tall, then all those vowels will be pure, and if everyone is doing it, then they will be uniform, and then that makes your choir able to be understood. We want to understand the words that you're singing, and if everyone's vowels are different or everyone is singing them incorrectly, then all of a sudden now we have a lot of vowel lack of uniformity. It's not, and everyone's is not the same, and so then we have trouble understanding, or if we do understand, it's sloppy. And you can tell the difference when you listen to that sloppy sound or whether it's a crisp, good vowel sound. So when you talk about your vowels, you want them tall, you want them pure, you want them uniform. And when they are not tall, and they are not pure, and they are not uniform, they're closed. Sometimes they're spread really, really wide. Instead of being tall, they're closed. Instead of being pure, they're spread out sideways. And instead of being uniform, everyone is using different vowel sounds. And then diction also relates to your consonants, all of your consonant letters. They should make your words understood. And as we listened the other day to that choir that sounded great, they worked hard on diction, but their diction was overdone, and so that it hurt us. We couldn't understand the words a lot of times because they were overdoing their diction. So the letters should sound correct. Everyone's consonants should be together. They should be crisp enough for us to understand. So the words you're looking for, if you have good diction with your consonants, are they're crisp, they're the ending consonants are put together. The words that we're singing are able to be understood. And if we have bad consonant diction, then it's sloppy. The ending consonants are not all together, and we hear a lot of different consonant sounds at the same time. Or we don't understand the words because the beginning consonants are not accented enough. And so then we can't understand what we're saying. The final category that we talk about is your musical expression. And again, let's try to remember that music expression does not have to do with a look on your face. A look on your face helps when you're singing to make the expression come through in the music. But what we're grading when we talk about musical expression in a group is we're grading their ability to communicate the meaning of the song through the music. So if I just hear an audio recording of the group, all I do is hear them. I can tell if the lyrics are sad, I understand that they're sad, the tone should also be sad. There should be expression in the music that is sad. There should be some maybe lots of soft, maybe some very dramatic, maybe some changes from sad to angry. I mean, there could be a lot of different things in musical expression. It might be happy. But again, then, if we don't have good musical expression and we're not really understanding that the lyrics or that the meaning of the song and the way that they're singing it match up, then what we end up with is a musical expression that doesn't line up. Or maybe we end up with a song that just sounds like a song. It's not music. Maybe if the song is about something angry, we should hear that energetic and intense kind of tone, and we should hear some really hard consonant sounds and things that represent anger and accents and things. But if we have an angry text, the words in the music, but we don't hear that sound, then I think we don't have the right kind of musical expression. And so I hope that you've written all of these things down. All 5 of these categories are the same 5 that you're going to use to criticize yourself and to criticize other choruses. And so now you're going to listen to a chorus, and I want you to write on the other side of the sheet of paper that you took notes on. I want you to write each category with some space underneath it. And then I'm going to have you listen to this chorus, and Ms. Ross will give you time to write your your comments for each section based on the vocabulary that you have on the other side. So you're going to write down the notes that I just gave you, and now the other side of the page, I want you to use those notes. It's fine for you to look at them, to listen to this group and write down the truth. What do they sound like? How do they sound according to all the different things that we've talked about? Now, I want you to save your opinion for the end. There's no, it was good, it was bad. There's no, I liked it or I didn't like it. Or their tone was great. Or their tone was terrible. Or their musical expression was off. Or the intonation was on point. We don't want to write things like that. Those are basically our opinions. I need the vocabulary in each section. Okay, I need you to tell me each section's vocabulary. At the bottom, there's where you can write your opinion. Go ahead and tell me what you thought about the piece. Did you like it? Was it something that you thought it was terrible? Did they need to work harder on it? Whatever it is that you think they needed as a result of listening to the performance, or whether you loved it, or whether, any kind of opinion that you have about the piece, you go ahead and write that on the bottom of the other sheet. That way, at least you can get it out. I know sometimes I listen to pieces and I can give you the detailed description, but I still have an opinion. And so you go ahead and share that opinion down on the bottom of that sheet. After you get done listening to the piece, Ms. Ross would certainly play it for you a second time if you think that hearing it a second time is going to help you get a better criticism of the piece. 2 times would be the most that you would be allowed to hear the piece in order to criticize it. Then write your opinion at the bottom, and then we should be good to go. And I will see everybody tomorrow. Have a great day. Bye.